Hello everybody and welcome back to Superman 64. Now we're doing the 5th ride, aka the 5th ring level.
So after giving Darkseid to the pool, oh my god!
Ah!
Well, what's wrong, Pedro?
Okay.
The war rings!
Okay. So I should point out this fun fact. You may notice that there are some times where it feels like you're not only going in circles, but get this, sometimes the place where you start from will be pretty close to you, if not the very location that you end at. That's right. Sometimes these locations will take you around a glorified U-turn, and you'll still fail if you don't go through all the rings.
More like we're running through circles.
I will say this, I can definitely see why a lot of fans got a bad idea about 06 when the first mission involved going through rings. Because this game definitely is enough to tarnish rings for games, that's for sure.
Well, Sonic 06 is obviously not as bad as this one. Still does as a bit too much missions where you just go through rings and it's not really fun there either. So...
Oh, I get that. What I'm talking about is like, well, all it took was the first mission for rings for a lot of fans, at least going off of Let's Plays that were made around the time of release, for them to get a bad feeling.
I'm just
because
imagining
Superman 64 poisoned the well so bad.
I'm just imagining Sonic saying the catchphrase when you start the ring mission, then there's no time to waste.
Ah, darn! We're not gonna make it! Let's speed up!
Well, we already had that one.
That's what he actually says for that. Which is
well, technically, he only says those in the. All right. No, not blow the tornadoes. I hate blow the tornadoes missions because
the tornadoes can blow you.
I hate doing these missions because you have to literally be on top of the fucking tornadoes for it to work, because the super breath is the range of like what, Superman's nose. Like,
I guess at least the tornadoes can't hurt you.
Well,
can you imagine how unfair it would be if they could?
Kudos for small favors, I guess.
And back to rings again.
But that's the thing.
Moving kind.
Alright, yeah, like I said, like, once you've seen one of these ring levels, you've pretty much seen them all, except for the final one. The final one can be annoying because of its unique gimmick, but aside from that...
I was about to say...
But
aside from that, yeah, the first 6 ring levels, they kind of blend in together. They all basically just boil down to the same thing.
I would argue that they're different enough that you'll probably still have a hard time with these later on, especially if you're not using cheats like Pedro is.
Well,
I wonder if anyone's tried to make like a Kaizo Superman of the ring levels.
Well, the thing is, well, when it comes to, I mean, the only cheat that's actually useful in these ones is, add more time to the timer.
My point exactly. Like, adding time to the timer, it makes it a lot easier because that allows you much more time to like circle back for a ring.
True, but if I have True, but if I didn't have that cheat, all I would do is I would be a bit more lenient about missing certain rings, as well as trying to take things a bit slower to make sure I diminish my risk of making mistakes.
I'm willing to bet you'd be having a notably more difficult time, because there's been a lot of times where that time save cheat has really helped you out big time.
Oh yeah. That's because, again, well, see, that's because a lot of times the game gives you just like barely enough time, to the point where you practically there's very minor room for error. You know, a lot of these...
This is why I claim that even if you do get used to the controls, these ring levels are different enough that each one can stress you out with its needless difficulty.
Oh, true. True. For some, I can definitely see that being the case for most people. But, however, much like the original one, I actually don't have too much trouble with it. Like I said, remember, as a kid, I didn't rage quit in these. I actually rage quit in the warehouse level of Lois, for reasons that it should be obvious by this point.
Without a doubt, the ring levels are
seriously
not the
just a straight line. How lazy is that?
Thank goodness for small favors, I guess.
At least the rings aren't moving.
This does even the Crash 1 thing of not having a counter of the total number of rings, which would be somewhat helpful in case you might miss some or understanding how far you are from the end.
Yeah.
Oh, where the rings go?
Now when I see some lights, there
Yeah.
you go.
Okay, I guess those flickers are supposed
Yeah,
to
they
be
are.
your cue.
Basically, whatever ring is spinning always has some kind of little green light that blinks.
Considering how
Green Lantern
well,
ring.
well, considering how bugged this game is, how much do you reckon the players would think? Oh no, the water's glitching or something.
Who knows?
See?
Fine.
Down there.
Yeah, this is another thing about these rings. That can be a bit annoying. You'll be going through a basic pattern that makes sense, and then suddenly they break off the pattern by forcing you to take a detour to get to whatever the next set of rings is.
And I know that the green sparks are supposed to be a signifier, but I can't help but find that just a little bit player hostile.
Alright, so let's save the state just in case.
Right,
Be
what's this one?
careful.
Oh my...
The tornadoes again.
Again? I just did... I just did that! Are you fucking kidding me?
Pedro, are you sure the game didn't reset or something?
Okay, I'm convinced the developers gave up at this point. Like...
But that would imply that there's no more code left to go, and unfortunately, we have the
No, I mean,
final.
they gave up on coming up with missions for.
Give up on life.
Seriously.
Oh no, not the civilians!
A tornado is carrying up Metropolitan.
Again, the fucking tornado doesn't sit fucking still.
I'm sorry, but I get that they're
There
digital
you go.
program, but these civilians are just a
Oh
little...
god!
6 minutes.
6 minutes
Yep.
of fucking
So, what do you guys want to talk about?
Dibs, this is the game.
Do you have any time to talk about our Lord and Savior Solomon of the 12 Rings?
Dibs, this is the game. Nothing happens in this game. Like,
I
You
could talk
got it.
about Lord of the Rings.
You got it wrong, Jova. Deacon Blackfire is in Gotham, not in Metropolis.
Well, hey, Lord of the Rings does have something to do with this game. Barely. I mean, it's from Warner Brothers thinking the films, so.
These days, you don't even know, because for a while the rights were basically juggled. The Tolkien estate was very vague in mentioning if New Line Cinema and Warner Bros. Were still keeping those, but these days it seems that thanks to the acquisition of from the Embracer Group, believe it or not, of rights of movie and game distribution, they reached an accord and said that yes, Warner Bros. Is still keeping them in some fashion.
It's like Embracer just kind of licensed.
Essentially, they get a part of the money. That's it. Oh my god!
This
This
going.
is so disorienting. I could not figure out up from down until you move the camera there.
that's because, Theo, you cannot move the camera at all. Like, the camera is entirely automatic, and the camera is programmed terribly.
I tried to say this in the nicest way possible, but this game is but ugly to look at.
Oh, it is.
I know, right?
There are better looking at 64 games.
I hear not many people mentioning, but also I argue Superman's model. I'm not talking about the face. In general, I know that the 64 was famous for having things a bit blocky in its polygonal states, rather in contrast to the PlayStation super jagged models. But look at Superman's, legs and feet. They look like it looks like it's a fucking, plush toy from an actual person.
Yeah.
With uneven feet at the hat.
Like, that's why trying this whole open-ended Superman game on the Nintendo 64 was a giant mistake.
Ambitious, but not really.
I mean...
Oh, look, another straight line.
Whee! It's like you're actually Superman, flying where you want to.
Spending half the game playing for
Okay.
rings, that's what people want in a Superman game, right?
Absolutely. Again, I'm not even against the idea, because it can be useful as a side activity. Hell, the Arkham games, starting with City, had this as a side activity for Batman, and it works. You just need to have the controls being fun and engaging enough.
And also, let's not forget the main thing, that was a side thing. Like, again, the ring stuff is normally something you see in side activities. Or, you know, side missions.
I get the idea on a story basis, what they wanted to do is having this being the excuse of a transitioning level from Superman to getting from one location to another. But it's getting to the point where the levels are so bloated with the rings that you probably run around in circles through this big metropolis constantly before getting.
So you're running around in circles trying to find the circles.
Wait, again,
It's maddening. It's madness.
Again, the primary first thing they should have done is, hey guys, you know that thing you have with the easy mode where Superman just flies to the next location? Yeah, that should have been the proper core way of designing the thing.
Or even that, in terms of scaling the difficulty, do not increase the number of rings this much. Like, having that you start with something like 10 and then progress, like, say, on 15 or 120 or, 17 and then 20. Like, have a slow amount of progress. Not having, like, something like, oh, the first level is, like, 30 and the one after is, like, 60, double. And the one after that is 80, the one after 100. And I'm pretty sure at this point we're on the 200 level. Amount of rings.
Has someone ever tried to count how many rings there are in this game?
Proton John.
I mean, it is possible, rewinding the footage and everything, but God forbid.
I can't be bothered.
So, if I may, to bring up what may be a bit of a nitpick, but is another issue, these levels are referred to officially as maze levels. You know the famous saying from Let's Super Soul?
Hold on. Okay, guys, take a wild guess. What we're gonna do now?
Tornadoes.
Destroy enemies.
Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me, game?
Okay.
Are we sure we're actually progressing?
Guys, I get the feeling that it was the turn of the developer who has a tornado fetish when developing this part of the game.
I don't want to say bad things. So again, I'll just sum it up with, again, these tornadoes can blow me. I know it's cheap, and I repeat that, but it's so fitting.
Why are you just standing there? The tornado headed your...
Anyway.
6 minutes 40.
It really is madness.
But yeah, no,
this is Superman 64, bitch. Bend over.
No, seriously. I can't get over the fact that these are called maze levels. Like, I'm sorry, but Titus, do you not know what a maze actually is?
Well, Jeremy, they're called ride levels.
Yeah, the actual official name is ride. It's called Fifth Ride.
I'm not enjoying this ride. I want to get on this ride.
Wait, what a great ride.
That's because the ride never ends.
With Mr. Bones.
What a great ride they've got here.
That's it, Jova. Lex Luthor is not the real mastermind behind this, nor is Brainiac. It's Director Bones.
Oh my god. And
it's,
so many
it's
years
totally
before...
in character because he's such a dick.
Given how his quote-unquote plans, if I can even call them that, work... Yeah, this definitely seems like something he'd do.
Mr. Bozo is an actual character called like that in the DC universe. Started as a relatively minor supervillain, but for some reason the United States government thought it was appropriate to put him in charge of essentially a secret department that investigates about every meta-human affair. And his whole shtick is that his body, his organic mass, as in flesh and muscle tissues, are completely transparent, and as such, he looks like a skeleton. But it's not a skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a dick.
Yeah.
To give an idea just how out of touch the writers of the New 52 were, they tried to use him to be an asshole towards Jaime Reyes, someone from New Mexico, and literally telling him in his face that he considered that he had a hunch of keeping him in shackles because he considered him quote-unquote bad seed. Stay classy, DC.
Yeah, like I said, there's a good reason Jeff Johns had a nice little sit-down with them and pretty much explained in no uncertain terms that the New 52 was crap. Oh yes, he says Dan DiDio. Pretty much DC's equivalent to Joe Quesada.
Look at that.
No, I compare it more to like Vermont.
Look at that. I actually got to a point where I had to go back from where I was going to going to the next ring. Like, seriously, what kind of ring placement is this? Like
Again. The idea of these ring placements is like, well, the idea is to get you as Superman to do a corkscrew around the bridge. So in theory, it should look like you're doing a cool aerial trick.
The game should make you feel. Like
there's a flaw in that plan. There's a flaw in that plan. The controls are too bad to pull that off.
I'm just more. I just also had to think about the poor, sad, sod developer at T2's titles, whatever you want to call it.
Fuck? Where's the next ring?
Actually, when programming this game, I had to manually, physically place these rings, one by one. Like,
okay.
Having to crunch yourself to do this kind of thing.
Oh, there it is.
Well, there it is.
Why would you put the building right in front of the next ring? Like, that's just dickish.
That's where we are, folks. I don't think I think we might be 2 thirds into the game, if not earlier than that. And I'm already losing my goddamn mind with this.
This is Superman 64, where minds go to die, assuming you get the star.
This proves that Lex Luthor plan had a point. It just works.
Yep, it does.
Yeah, well, again, it's like I said, honestly, like a good developer, I guess, would claim that. Well, you see, Lex Luthor has made the ultimate torture device for Superman. His abilities do not work properly in this digital world, and therefore you must be Superman. You must fight against this digital world here. Like, okay.
How sad is it that one of Alan Moore's greatest Superman stories, for the man who has everything, puts Superman in a Lotus Eater machine, but is still preferable over this?
Yeah, so I gotta wonder, guys, if they had run with the excuse that the reason the controls are bad is because it's Lex Luthor's programming, do you think people might have, like, bought that back then?
No.
You know, back in
Well, I mean, they didn't buy the they didn't buy the Kryptonite fog.
Not just that. Like, nobody bought anything even back then. This game was panned, deservedly panned, even back when it first came out. Like...
So, in that case, did Lex Luthor truly win? Has he managed to somehow sully the name of Superman to the point where so many devs are afraid to make a Superman game?
Yeah. It's starting to get to a point where I'm starting to wonder if there even is... If even Rocksteady apparently couldn't figure it out, then is there even any hope at this point?
Part of me still suspects that the main reason Rocksteady didn't get to make that Superman game was more so WB.
Tornadoes.
Please don't be a tornado.
Well, we're in the middle of the ocean. What else are they gonna do?
Now it's enemies. Oh, so you're actually happy to see enemies now instead?
At least they're easy to kill.
Wow.
But
regarding, even before Rocksteady, the entire thing with Rocksteady, if I recall correctly, there was someone who was actually planning a Superman game on the PS3, and I'm talking about the adaptation of Returns, a standalone Superman game, but that didn't really work out. I know that it was kind of a sort of a common thing, because someone was even trying to develop a video game based on the Flash, as in Barry Allen Flash.
Oh god!
And
like, this game is gonna give me a seizure. Jesus Christ, what was that?
That was weird, in the wise words of Jack Horner. But but again, it seems that during the early age of a PS3, DC and Warner Bros. Had a bunch of ideas for, some adaptations of the DC, superhero in video games. But out of those, only Batman stuck out with Arkham Asylum.
There was Superman Shadow of a
that was on the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox, Joe. I'm talking about the PS3 era.
Well, again, though, when it comes to Rocksteady, I think they could do it, but again, it seems like, I'm holding that the main reason they didn't get to do Superman was because WB deemed against it, because instead, they wanted them working on something more relevant, per se.
Well, you say that, Jova, but again, considering how long has it been, like, people might have forgot, but Arkham Knight was in 2015. By the
Yeah.
time recording this, that was 8 years ago. And we know that the development of Suicide Squad started only recently, like 3 years ago, roughly.
Yeah, when they started...
That's why.
So we have, we have a period of 5 years in which supposedly Rocksteady might have been developing the Superman game, and after that it was completely scrapped, not even given to someone else.
I guess the best theory I can get is that after the gigantic failure of BVS, they thought that maybe, you know, the whole Superman, because originally they were counting on that game selling well, as, you know, in terms of cross promotion with, you know, Man of Steel and BVS probably. But since, you know, they started completely messing up everything after BVS, I guess maybe the idea is that...
BVS was in 2016. I hardly doubt they would have had the game ready 1 year after Arkham Knight.
Oh, I get that too. What I mean is that, like, I'm not saying the decision was made right after BVS came out. Like, probably like to a point like around 2018, maybe.
Given how rocky game development can get, I wouldn't be surprised if they were working on that game for quite some time, but then around this time or that...
The thing is that we don't even have an idea, they don't even have much of an actual word of from their studio. There was complete radio silence from both them and Warner Bros. Until, you know, the Suicide Squad video game was officially properly announced, which something that which we knew at some point was in development probably by someone else, but apparently got cancelled. But I'm guessing the success of, you know, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad might have helped.
This does raise the possibility that all these
I know,
years
not monetarily, Dweebs. I'm talking about, you know, critically.
Also, I think it got a lot of good views on streaming. Like, let's not forget that was sort of in a period where movies were struggling to come back to theaters.
And even so, Jovan, let's not forget that there are still always the actual DVDs and Blu-rays that are being sold.
That too. I hear it.
Again, the only thing is that we don't really have much.
Whoa, what the hell happened? Why did the camera zoom out all of a sudden?
We actually don't know. Oh, Star Lab. Finally, hopefully we get something different.
We will. Okay. Tune in next time, everybody, where we will enter Star Laboratory so we can save Professor Hamilton.
Superman's taking a shit now.
Yes.
So here's my take here. What if, perchance, they never were working on a Superman game, but... well, they kind of rocketed over to the Suicide Squad game from the get-go, and it's just been an uber-long process to deliver...
It's potential, but man, a game taking this long to develop, if anything, it should be a state of, you know, how extremely long and tedious and, you know, over-complex game development is becoming, and maybe companies should, you know, dumb down on that.
I am going to take a bit of a quote from Dark Lord Jetta, though. Man, the Suicide Squad game looks distressingly similar to how Anthem, and of course the Avengers game started out, so I wouldn't be surprised if that game started development, you know, around the time that Anthem was getting trimmed and propered up, and then took some cues from the Avengers game, which... yeah, those two haven't turned out the best, so that might be why they delayed it again, though I'm gonna be honest, I don't think anything short of an overhaul is really going to help the Suicide Squad game.
Alright.
But anyway, so next time we'll get in Star Labs, I guess?
Yes. Alright, see you then, everybody.
Well, hopefully this level will be better.
Yeah, it will, actually. That being said, if you know what you're supposed to do, if you don't know what you're supposed to do, then yeah.
We shall see.
See you, everybody.
Yeah.
Ciao.